shift and see which ones of them are going down and which ones of them are likely to come up. Take a look at this presentation. The potential losers in the coming years seem to be tourism and leisure, aviation, maritime, automotive, construction, real estate, manufacturing, financial services, education, oil and gas. And the potential winners are going to be probably agriculture, e-commerce, ICT, personal and healthcare, food processing and retail, medical services. This is the kind of research my personal staff has done over the last 4 weeks to see what is going to be the result of COVID on the future of learning and development. But this is probably still a work in progress. If you see the sectoral decline and the sectoral rise, that is the standard focus of all training and development efforts. But learning and development in future is going to have more ingredients, and let me flag to you a few in this presentation for you to mull over and perhaps develop in your own way. In the collective progress of human race, certain associations have fallen behind, certain collectivities of people have forged ahead, and workplace has become the dominant theme of many of our lives. I think in the coming modules and the coming emphasis of learning and development, a lot of the segments and a lot of the collectives which are left behind will gain ground. The value of family will go up. Learning to deal with each other will be a special exercise in its own right, not only because it's person to person, but because each one will be dealing with its own share of insecurities. One will have to have the realization that the boundaries which touch human life are essentially human creation. When civilization came up, the concept of time came. When the world was born, there was no time. Time was eternal. We created a calendar, we created the months, we created the hour, we created the minutes, and there began the measurement. We also began the measurement of earth, and we had countries, and we had states, and we had plots, and we had buildings. Much of that is going to change because much of the ownership will be collective. Look at the state of lockdown we have today. It's a collective existence in many, many manners. The services are collective, maintenance is collective, the medical is collective, and I think there is going to be a parallel shift in the coming years. So the focus of learning and development is going to change. However, there are two things which are significant. One is the re-emphasis of environment, and the respect of life is going to go up. I don't want to get into the debate on whether vegetarianism will be more significant or non-vegetarianism, but respect for life in general will go up. What is it that we need to learn? We are in a state of tension right now because we are grieving the death of the old norms. But Tennyson had said, "The old order changeth, yielding place to new, and God fulfills himself in many ways, lest one good custom should corrupt the world." We are fortunate to be born in times and to give shape to the future to emerge. This feeling of groundlessness which we have and our inability to face with discomforts will have to be overcome. I think the emphasis in the future is going to move from the employees only to the employers. And Alok ji may run you through 5 or 6 slides which I have, which show the significance which employers are going to have in the training domain in the coming few years. As the employers become poorer, we are going to have greater problems in getting sponsorships because many bosses spend life nurturing the decisions, which are very often a gamble. Rentals, materials take away the resources. And we will notice that very soon we will have problem because the bosses in their pressure may not be able to see the relevance of training for themselves. As cash flow shrinks, market sinks, they will be focused on products. Therefore, training and development may have a problem of sponsorship. Unfortunately, in this year of COVID, we are going to find that debts of companies' expenses are going to increase, and therefore we'll have to look for new financial models for supporting training. Our lifestyles will change, and we will also notice that we will have to run training programs for the bosses themselves. I would like to start concluding my remarks with 4 more ideas. The future of training and development would be a shared fate, as you can see from this presentation. There will be no difference between the boss and the employee, or it would have reduced anyhow. We'll be grateful for the job we have, and we shall believe in teamwork in far more many ways than we presently do. We will find it useful to focus on child rearing practices. Anxiety disorder is going to be a major point of focus. Implementation of regulatory processes, which is at the moment problematic both in the financial sector and in the company regulations, will need competency to deliver the regulatory systems. And anyone who has a significant role at the board level or at the board supportive level will know the heartaches which faulted implementation of regulatory processes is going to cause. So there has to be a major skill formation there. So to sum it all up, I think we'll need new habits. There will be long range habits and there will be short range habits. Some of the habits will change. This cartoon shows to you how habits will change. This is the parrot telling the person, don't worry about the 21-day lockdown. After a while, you'll get used to it. Therefore, in a light-hearted manner, our long-range habits will also need to change. And it is in times such as this that the good and bad comes out, because the brain has got wired in a particular process in the last few decades. It will have to be rewired. But above all, when I talk to a group like this, there is only one thought which is in my mind. In crisis, when the boundaries lines are blurred and the set is set for new leaders to emerge, I hope to see many of you as one of those leaders in the coming years. Good luck to all. I may not be around for the next Jubilee, but I'm sure several of you will, and it will be a much more optimistic celebration we'll be having then. Good luck to everyone. Best of luck to ISTD. Over to Pratima.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Vinayshil Gautam. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. So moving ahead, we are delighted to welcome Mr. Ranjan Mahapatra, who's the President of International Federation of Training and Development Organization and Director, HR Indian Oil Corporation. I request Mr. Mahapatra to share with us about the forthcoming global conference, that is the IFTDO.
उसमें था मेरे बैग
ड्रॉर में
बड़ा वाला बैग
टीवी के नीचे जो ड्रॉर्स हैं उसमें से एक में
IT, please mute all.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. And Dr. Nataraj Ray, President ISTD, Dr. Vinayshil Gautam, Mr. Mukesh Jain, all other esteemed guests who are present here, all attendees are connected through VC, and ladies and gentlemen, I think the men, see, every technology will have a problem. So since we are connected through VC, we all could not clap for Mr. Vinayshil Gautam. So I am only giving him a clap. So I think it is for everybody, all of us who are muted. Okay, to start with, let me compliment ISTD, which is celebrating its Golden Jubilee today. And it also happens to be the Public Sector Day today also. Compliments to everyone. 30th congratulations to all the constituents of ISTD and all the members who are present through this VC. Friends, it's my pleasure to share with you that the 49th International Conference of IFTDO is being proposed to be held in Delhi. We all know that it is one of the most sought after conferences in T&D fraternity, and this will be only the 5th time that India will be hosting this conference. In fact, I must express my thankfulness. I'm extremely happy that ISTD have nominated me as President of IFTDO. You may be aware that it is the host country for any IFTDO conference. It nominates the president. So I feel extremely honored to find myself in the elite company of science of this Indian industry, namely late Subir Raha, ex-CMD of ONGC, or Mr. B.P. Rao, ex-CMD of BHEL, and among others. But that also puts a lot of responsibility on my shoulder, as I understand that all FTO conferences which have been held in India have been extremely hugely successful. And entire FTO fraternity is looking towards this particular conference with lots of expectations. So on behalf of each one of you, I can assure that no effort will be spared to make this one equally successful, if not better. Initially, the conference was proposed to be held from October 7th to 9th this year. But you are aware that the whole world is now grappling with COVID-19. And the scenario as it is building up, there is a huge uncertainty over the final dates. And as the situation evolves, we will take a decision in the due course. But whenever it is held, I would certainly be looking forward to support from each of the constituents of ISTD, apart from the core groups which have been already constituted for the purpose. Nonetheless, I have the pleasure of announcing that the theme for this conference will be Strategies for an Agile Culture, Road to New Age Markets. In fact, the theme has been finalized keeping in view the contemporary scenario which needs resilience and agility to bring dynamism in the marketplace. Conference will be planned and executed in a mission mode. Various committees have been already constituted. A core management committee comprising of Dr. Gautam, Dr. Nataraj Ray, Dr. A.C. Joshi, and S.K. Bose has been constituted, which would oversee work from all committees and would be also in close coordination with me to ensure that this event is a huge success. I thank you all, and I'm looking forward to your active participation. But before signing off for this session, I urge you and your family to stay safe. Please follow social distancing. Please follow proper hygiene. And please stay safe along with your family. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mahapatra, for those very important updates. Decades back, ISTD and ISTD Delhi chapter started the journey. In these 50 years, we have come a long way. I would now request Mr. Y.N. Kaushal, a senior National Council member, to share with us the glorious history of ISTD Delhi chapter. Mr. Kaushal.
Yeah, good evening to all of you. It's my pleasure to really share this history. In fact, initially we had thought that this will be history of ISTD Delhi chapter, but now I am converting it to a history of ISTD with a Delhi chapter's perspective, because there are people from all over India who are there. So I would like to have the perspective that we at Delhi chapter have about the growth of ISTD and how it has happened. So let me share my this PPT which I have prepared for this purpose. Give me a minute or a second to share this. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. See, 50 years ago on this day, we had begun this journey, right? And that was 10th April 1970. And on that day, this particular, organization where we are today was laid. And this was led by the founding members here. And what we need to, just a minute. Let me see if I can get the next screen. Okay. So I'm really giving a daily perspective over there. So today, 50 years ago, 10th April 1970, it all started. The place where it was born was actually in a room which was temporarily given to us by Department of Personnel and Training in the old JNU campus. this place is just 1.5 kilometer away from the present national headquarters. And in fact, in this place currently, Institute of Secretariat Training and Management. And the reason for this to be housed in the government's Government of India's Department of Personnel and Training was because one of the founding members was our one of the President Emeritus also, B.C. Mathur. He was the highest person at that point of time, and he has actually taken, he was one of those persons who were the founding members of this society. This particular picture is hazy. In the middle is this our founding father, Mr. B.C. Mathur. This picture was taken in 2008, and the important thing is that even when we had a big problem about the pending penalty, etc., he was the one who sorted it out for us. So not only him, but many other people at ISTD where we are and where we are today. I would like to just share with you that ISTD Delhi chapter has contributed in many ways. This is just a list of ISTD Delhi chapter chairman, and if you really look at this, several of them had later become the president or national president of ISTD also. For example, Mr. Vashne, I don't even know every one of them, Dr. Mohanot, Dr. Ramprakash, Dr. Vinayshil Gautam, and Dr. Sunil Abral, and so many others have actually, contributed to ISTD at a national level also. But they were all, started from the Delhi chapter and like that. Delhi chapter also has a significant number. Okay, this is the list for up to 2006, and you can see so many people from Delhi chapter had actually become the president of ISTD also. Similarly, there is considerable number of people who are fellows of ISTD who were and are member of ISTD Delhi chapter, right? We have had many first. Delhi chapter started celebrating Foundation Day of ISTD from mid-80s. We also have received Best Chapter and Second Best Chapter awards many a times. We are also, we have been at different points of time quite active in publishing, have published newsletters, HRD Communique, where we were, and Training and Development Reporter, where we were really looking at and making a concise summary of important articles from all over the world. Then ISTD chapter has even published books, and this is a story which need to be known. In the mid-80s, when the current building where national headquarters is, it was having paucity of money, and national office sought money from Delhi chapter, and Delhi chapter gave from those times, from point of view of those times, a fairly large sum to a national office so that it could complete the building, So that has been, and then we have contributed to diploma. One of the thing is that largest number of ISTD diploma students come from Delhi chapter in almost all batches. Contribution to the course material development has been done by many Delhi chapter members. Recent revision of the syllabus also, and which has been very well appreciated by the students and by the people in general, has been done by members of Delhi chapter. Right now, only thing is Delhi is not Delhi. Delhi is not North India. Delhi is heart of India. Every corner of India is reflected in Delhi. So Delhi is not really a separate chapter. It is a reflection of each of the chapter of ISTD's each chapter. And so Delhi doesn't feel that it's heart of India. We are India, and these are the hearts which are representing other chapters. So I would say never consider the Delhi chapter is a separate one. Delhi chapter in one way or the other represents every other chapter also, right? Now, the important thing that I would like to share with you is that what really drives and what really makes the roots of this society. Number one, I would say, is an emotional. All of us who are members of this society are emotionally is very strongly connected to this, and I would say it is not only ourselves, that is we who are connected. In fact, I find even the families are connected. Now I would like to share a small story, personally, which I saw in Delhi. One of our was Mr. B.G. Varshney. One day in the headquarters building, B.G. Varshney's wife had come and was sitting in the reception area. And what she was really looking around was at her, a building, a society where her late husband had contributed greatly as a president in the initial decade. Now, that is the type of connect when I saw that sort of connect that she had with uh, ISTD, tells me that it is this way many of our family, of course, some of our spouses might complain that you are spending too much time over there on the weekend. Why don't you spend time with us in the family? But then the point is that that's the connect that the families have with ISTD, and in places where we organize family get-togethers also, that connects comes much stronger. And I know about this, that in many chapters we have done a good job of that, and keeping the families are so involved and extending our work to other sectors of the society. The second issue that I see is, and that's characteristic, is camaraderie. Great camaraderie that we really find every time we meet anywhere in NC meetings or other meetings. We find people from different chapters have great camaraderie, and that's another this thing. And this also leads to one more thing, and that is one thing which I find is that this society, this institution has become what it is because of the selfless contribution by numerous members. And this selflessness is another characteristic which I see, in our society largely, right? There is one thing which I have would like to say is that ready to give. We are ready to give to others, and in fact, I recall, few years ago, I wanted to organize a program in Bombay, and I phoned up Dr. P.N. Singh, but I had no idea where to organize and where to have a place. And I said that I need some assistance. And he said that, look, I have an HRD center and I have got 4 rooms. You take any one of them and don't worry. Just come, do it. And it's a different matter that this program could not happen because in that week, a Mumbai Bandh was called. So that had to be cancelled. But the readiness to give, the same thing I realized when, recently, this last month, some time ago, we had gone to Bangalore and we had an NC meeting. Professor Joy Phillips sort of, readiness to every time share every facility and provide every support to, ISTD's activities is one of the reflection, manifestation of the same, this characteristic that is ready to give, and this is where we come back to what ISTD stands for. ISTD logo is this, and what it is: Prasishanamastu sada prayuktam jnanay danay chivardhanay. So the training is to be used, for development, increase of knowledge, giving away, and improving, or vadhanai means development. So application, improving it, that's the type of things, you know, that ISTD stands for. These are the roots of, you know, society. This is the core values of this society, and we need to continue to nourish, continue to water these roots, because and also remember that present autumn that we are experiencing will go away. I'm sure spring will bloom once again. How many days, how many weeks, how many months, we don't know, but it will be. So on that note of hope, I would like to conclude it, and I would like to say, in preparing of this, would like to give special thanks to Dr. Sudhir Jain and Dr. Vinayshil Gautam, who shared some thoughts and material, because we didn't have access to the actually records, etc., which is because of the lockdown. So whatever we could lay our hands, we prepared this. And thank you very much. And with that, I'll take leave, close. Thank you. Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Over to Madam Pratima.
Her phone needs to be unmuted.
Okay.
It
This is, yeah.
Yeah, over to you, Mr. Rao.
Okay.
No, you
I'm
have
there
to repeat
already.
it, because your
Okay.
phone was muted.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Pratima.
Shall I
Friends.
repeat it?
No, it's fine. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good afternoon, good evening to everybody. My name is GP Rao. Let's make this online option a bit interesting. There are 300 participants now, and you have a few options at the bottom of your screen. You will see something called chat. So you want to give a comment, you want to ask a question, you can use the chat box. And towards the end of that bottom, there is something called reaction. So if so far we have heard Mr. Mukesh Jain, Mr. Nataraj Ray, then Dr. Vinayshil Gautam, then Ranjan Mahapatraji, then finally Mr. Vayan Kaushal. So now you can start testing whether you can use that reaction or not. Just click that reaction. You got two options. One is a clap, the other is this. Let's see how many of you do this. So that will come on your face. Let me see how many of you do. So many people are clapping for the speakers so far. Yeah, let's see some more. Wonderful. So you know how to make an online option very interesting. Now let's use the chat. Come to the chat. Each one of you would have to say, if you're a member of ISTD, you type Y. You want to become an ISTD member, you said W. You said no, you said type N. Let's see. Just chat. Let's see how many people are typing the chat. Y is I'm a member. W is I want to become a member. No is no, I'll never become a member. Oh, so many people are Y, so many people W. Good news, Mr. Nataraj Ray. During your tenure as the national president, you can make these kind of events, ask people, how many of you want to join the bandwagon of the 50-year-old organization? That is, okay, let's come back. Okay, let's come back. Now, fine. Our IT friend is a bit unfair to us. He's every time muting all of you. But then that's the need. If somebody is speaking, If all our others are unmuted, he's getting disturbed. So when you speak, you will be unmuted, others will be muted. So the rules of the game. These are the rules of the game. So please don't curse the IT friend. This is his job he's doing. So you're all muted, but you want to unmute your video, most welcome. Okay, with your permission, now let's go to the panel mode. The panel is on future of L&D. And we have got 4 veterans as panelists today. So with the help of IT, I would like to present each panelist to you. Number 1 panelist is Miss Pavitra Singh from PepsiCo. See the CHRO, PepsiCo India. Can we have Pavitra on the screen?
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Welcome,
And
Pavitra.
Thank
Welcome,
you for inviting me.
Welcome, Pavitra. Then we have Sunil Ranjan, Senior VP HR of Maruti Suzuki India Limited. Sunil Ranjan. Can you welcome?
Hi everyone. This is Sunil Ranjan. Nice to meet you. Okay,
Thank
GP, over to you.
Thank you. Then we have Mr. Raj Raghavan, CHRO of Indigo Airlines. Mr. Raj Raghavan.
Hi, this is Raj Raghavan. Good to see all of you.
Welcome, Raj. Welcome. Then finally, we have Mr. Ranjan K. Mahapatra, Director HR IOC, as our panelist. Dr. Ranjan.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. You have already heard me. Very good to see all of you, and thanks ISTD for having invited me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Okay, now friends, use your reactions. Are you happy with this panel of today's panel? So if you think it's a good panel, you show your chat, show a clap or show a click like this. Use your reaction. Let's see how many of you are using reactions. Wonderful. We are using this reaction. Wonderful. They are saying all the best to the panel. All the best. They're happy with the panel. Okay. Now, with your permission, let me introduce the theme. The theme is future of L&D. Why we have chosen L&D today? I think we are at crossroads. We are at a difficult situation. Let's not talk about COVID. Let's not talk about Corona. We are professionals. We know hurdles come. We treat hurdles as events. We come out of it. So L&D is going to be an important tool in the hands of corporate professionals. So we thought at this juncture, let's talk about L&D. And to do this, we got the best people. You will see we have taken one from public sector, we have taken from multinational company, FMCG, Airways. So that's the panel we have taken. And during the interaction, we will discuss with them are you ready for this? And we'll also ask them, what kind of competencies companies will focus on so that L&D will work towards that. We think that L&D, the mode will change. L&D will be organized. Will there be a change? Then finally, since all 4 are from very big organizations, very progressive organizations, very professional organizations, would request them to what they have started doing and they're planning to do it. That will be a great takeaway from us. So the panel format, what we have done is, since there are 4 panelists, we will request one of them to share their initial thoughts for about 5 minutes each, about 20 minutes. Then I have got some questions from the audience. Yeah, IT will have to mute others. IT, please mute others. Yeah. Then we will raise some questions on behalf of the audience. I will raise those questions. Then audience can ask questions to us through the chat box. And I have got the help of Mr. Naveen Kumar and Mr. Vayan Kaushal. They are noting down your questions. So we will take as many questions as possible. And I'll be requesting the panelists to be as short as possible, as crisp as possible, so that we'll get more and more responses. Okay, with that, I will request Pavitra to start and give her initial thoughts on future of L&D, max 5 minutes. Pavitra.
Great. Thank you, and good evening, everybody. First of all, I must say, very interesting topic, especially in today's times, right? Where we're already seeing a number of things changing around us and getting accelerated. One of them being learning itself. And today's example is a great example. Who would have ever thought that we would have so many people, in a Zoom call, right? So this is a perfect example of how future of learning is going to be. But a couple of thoughts that I want to share from a learning perspective. Learning, we know, has been changing rapidly, right? Earlier, people were dependent on the organization or their managers to provide learning. But today, the ownership has to come from the individual. Organizations can enable, facilitate it. And tomorrow, what we're going to increasingly see is employees will decide their own learning curriculum, and they will also be investing themselves. So I know so many of my friends who have been working or are working in corporates, but they've spent their own money to upskill and upgrade themselves. So they're doing courses from Harvard, distant learning, but they invest in themselves. And that's going to be the trend, right? Empowered employees figuring out their own learning paths, leveraging, stuff like Udemy that's available outside, and imparting their own learning themselves. The second that I see is going to be a trend is learning is going to be a lot about learning and unlearning fast. Unlearning is just as important. So for example, and we're seeing it today, that in marketing, digital is a new capability. But if you don't unlearn the old ways, there's going to be no way that you can learn digital, right? So you have to learn and unlearn fast, and that's going to be even much more in the future. The third piece that I'm picking up is this whole concept of half-life, right? We have a new management concept every 12 to 14 months. Some are fads, some are good. Principles will always remain the same. So let me give you an example, like the double entry bookkeeping today that we have in finance, right? That's not going to change. People's skills are going to be the same. But what will change is the way they get adapted to a new generation, right? Companies are no longer invincible. The shelf life of a company, for example, earlier used to be 60 years, right? In the 60s was 60 years. And today it's about 16 to 20 years. Okay, one would argue maybe 10 years. And in today's time, maybe lesser, right? So companies that don't learn die fast. The whole concept of half-life, what was earlier important a couple of years ago, that knowledge is, soon, becoming irrelevant. And fourthly, in all this that we're seeing, there is a whole sea of information, right? We have so much of information, and access available. How do you get selective with your learning, right? When knowledge itself has diminishing returns, as someone coined very aptly, that today we are living in a drip economy, right? Which is data rich but insight poor. So we need, and therefore from a learning perspective, we need to see, and that's what the future is going to demand, that we need to have insightful managers. This comes from curiosity, comes from reflecting, from looking at different approaches of the same problem, right? These are some of the trends that I see, Mr. Rao, and I can pass it on to you. You're on mute.
In person. I was disciplined. I muted myself while Dr. was talking. Okay. Thank you, Pavitra, for a wonderful start. You brought in that concept of insight. It's not data. It's not information. This is insight. That insightful learning, insightful managers, insightful teaching. So that's one thing I have picked up. Besides the half-life, the learning, unlearning, and all. So shall we go to our friend Sunil Ranjan from Maruti Suzuki for his initial thoughts? Over to Sunil.
Hi, GP. Can you hear me clearly, everyone?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, GP, today we are talking about the future of L&D when many other things not being very, very clear what is going to be there, what is going to be the future like. But for me, when we are managing the organization like Maruti, which has people from all generations, which is an organization of 40,000 plus people. Personally, for me, in these 15 days or so, I feel I have actually grown much more than what I would think, especially in the areas of technology. Earlier, I would call my IT guy, okay, how do I install this software? But now I'm doing it all myself. Managing remote teams, managing anxiety, my own, whereas also for the people around. So I think this 15 days has been a journey into self-reflection, deciding how we have to move forward, because till now, practically this kind of a situation is we don't have any precedences to learn from. So it's been a time where organizations are introspecting, management is introspecting as how do we move forward. In the last 15-20 days, just the insights that I see in my organization limiting to just the L&D function. Probably this is one function, the activities or the way they were connecting with people have actually increased much more than when it was the business as usual scenario maybe a month back. Secondly, from the employees, I see they are more going towards pulling the training content to themselves from whatever LMS platform that we had earlier also. We have it now also, but now they are taking responsibility, reaching out to the L&D teams, pulling out those kind of modules which they think will be suitable for them. So that's one shift I have seen from that push. Now the training is more, I can see people pulling it out, what they actually need to learn. So that's one shift I clearly see happening in the L&D space. Second, when I was studying some of the data about the kind of trainings people are logging into, one very interesting phenomena which I noted was in the earlier times, the training was a very linear kind of a concept. Like, for example, a person in weld shop would be going through a welding technology kind of courses, and then he's taking on to new technologies coming here. So it was a very linear kind of mindset. People would go for training. But now when I'm seeing the data, I'm seeing people from A area actually logging on to some skill sets from IT, from project management, from managing anxiety, curiosity. So I see the training need which person perceives for himself going more on a matrix or a very kind of a spread. So that has happened. That is the second insight which I see from Maruti. Third is people taking self-development, as Pavitra also said, reskilling. People are logging into courses from, they're investing on themselves, they're taking short-term courses, long-term courses from universities abroad, from Indian institutions, which I feel is a good development, because till now I would see organizations taking responsibility for the development of a staff, but I see now people reaching out and taking responsibility as to how they need to grow, how they need to develop, what are the skills they need to actually manage. So these are some of my initial thoughts I thought I would just like to share. Over to you, GP.
Thank you, Sunil. That was a wonderful start. No, without a prompt, you started sharing what you people are doing, because you are all leaders with 40,000 people. So I really picked up that linear to non-linear, broad-based, more metrics. So it is coming from the employees. They want to learn. They want to become broader. They want to become broader from linear to non-linear. That's besides your other points that people are pulling out the optimum, and those are all, we'll go into those. So shall we now move from Pavitra, then Sunil, we'll go to our aviation friend. So everybody's looking towards you. Raj Raghavan of Indigo, the CHRO of Indigo. S. Raj.
Hey, GP, thank you so very much. It's a pleasure to be on this conference today. Great perspectives, Pavitra, fantastic perspectives, Sunil. And I come from aviation, the industry that has been called as a short-term loser. And that kind of, said, oh my God. But I think it's all about perspectives, as people say, and how we'll deal with perspectives. I want to give a quick background to aviation and how it links to L&D and learning. It's a very unique and complex business. Most of us know the workforce in aviation as predominantly pilots and cabin attendants. But beyond that, there are several of them. I'm not going to go through all of that. But more importantly, it's a highly, highly regulated business. Everything is regulated. The airplane is regulated. The pilots are regulated. The cabin attendant is regulated. The engineer is regulated. The person that gives your ticket is regulated. The person that passes you through security is regulated. My training classes are regulated. How many people that can sit in a classroom is regulated. How I teach my classes is regulated. So I should add this interesting perspective. We are doing this webinar now. Till about a year and a half ago, in aviation, we could not do any regulatory course online. You could never do any virtual course. A regulator would never allow that, because the understanding was the way you learn is by somebody teaching you in a classroom, and you're doing and repeating and learning and repeating and doing and learning. Times have changed. Just this past 15 days, much like Sunil said, lots of my courses are happening virtually, including some highly regulated courses on safety, etc., etc. So how L&D reinvents itself, and how it has quickly reinvented itself in support of a business, I think has been phenomenal. Now that brings me to the next point. Now, as HR professionals and as L&D professionals, we often have a perspective that others criticize as not being business focused. Now, how can you work backwards from the business and not being HR forward? By that I mean, we all have lots of ideas. We have phenomenal insight into things, but oftentimes we get so caught up in our own minds that this is the way it has to be done, irrespective of how the business needs that to be. There's going to be a new normal. Sunil alluded to it, Pavitra alluded to it, Mr. Ranjan Mahapatra alluded to it in his earlier conversation. I think there are two things that are going to be very, very important going forward, and L&D can play a humongous part. The first is, how do you preserve culture? Of course, how do you build culture, but how do you preserve culture? And how do you help people navigate culture in a new normal? Especially in my industry, as I see, even for us to reach the peak that we were in November, December of 1,800 departures a day, and we were all planning to 2,400 departures in the first quarter of this year, and we're going to start with 25% of the capacity. So pretty much starting with about 300 planes whenever the lockdown ends. And by the time we get to even 85% of the capacity we had in November last year, it's going to be 12 to 18 months. It's going to be a new normal. It's going to be tough times. We are all going to learn together, hurt ourselves together. But how can we help people learn through L&D and people learn culture? The second one, I think, is in spite of whatever is going to happen to the world when we all come back, all of our organizations need to be talent magnets. Much like Maruti Suzuki will be, PepsiCo will be, Indigo will also have to be. And how can HR professionals and L&D professionals be able to help a multi-generational workforce, which all of us have? And how can we help the company to be talent magnets? And those are my initial thoughts, GP, as I start thinking about L&D and especially in a regulated environment like the aviation industry.
Thank you, Ross. You have really helped us to take off, actually. You brought in a new perspective. I mean, we never talk L&D. When we'll talk about training programs. You are talking about culture. He said, L&D can build, nurture, and drive the culture of an organization. Something is a new perspective you have given to the future of L&D, besides your points called talent hunt, the multi-generation workforce, but then you are decriticalizing regulatory. I mean, something regulatory only can be done on a shop floor. You could do it on an online. So those are all things, but then I pick up that culture one, really. Thank you, Raz. Thank you very much. So we have moved from Pavitra, Sunil, and Raz. Now we'll have that public sector perspective, large organization perspective, a leader perspective. Can I request to invite Mr. Ranjan Kumar Mahapatra?
Thank you, Dr. Rao. In fact, I must compliment Pavitra, Sunil, as well as Raj Raghavan for having really built up the context in a way that it becomes easy to understand, and it becomes easy to go through the entire process once more. I will start with what Mr. Kaushal left with. Present autumn will also go away and spring will bloom. So we all know that we are going through this challenging times. COVID-19 is almost redefining the way we do our personal activities, we do our professional activities. It is redefining. If some of us are still thinking that after this is over, we'll again go back to the normalcy, then we are not really thinking wise, I suppose. And yes, I think Raj was talking about new normal. I think our PM also spoke about new normal. That is the thing which is going to happen. And who would have thought? I mean, that's what I'm telling. I think Pavitra was telling, who would have thought that we would have been meeting 200 people in Zoom had this not been affected on us? So who would have thought in my organization today, 30%, more than 30% of my people are working from home, despite having 9 refineries and 300 odd locations all over the country. We had almost 30% people are working from home, and they're getting connected through all these technological connects which is available. So this was unprecedented. So unprecedented times is also requiring unprecedented response, and L&D is no bit different. I think probably this is the right time for L&D or learning. I mean, making an organization and learning organization so that we learn beautifully. I think Raj has really marked it by telling about culture. Can we, a different culture will definitely come in at this time. I think that is what is becoming a new normal again. If you ask me, I would like to put as pronged people strategy. I can put it as one could be that being a public sector organization. Yes, I would like to put it on the top. We have to fulfill the social responsibility. We have to serve the society. So that's number one. We can also have. We all know that any challenge, it is for us to convert it to an opportunity. So any difficulties, it also gives us that opportunity to really go forward, and we must leverage that. That would be the number two. And number three, which everybody, each one of us is looking. I think Sunil was also telling, he's in Maruti, that more and more people are going into the LMS portal and trying to take courses which are even not of their own areas. So that itself shows that we have now quality time available for people who can get into this learning mode, and we should explore this learning opportunity. And last but not the least, which is true always, but it has become more true, I feel, that discover innovative ways of doing things. I think these are the 4-pronged strategies which we'll have to have it. Coming back to my own organizations, yes, we are also learning the new ways of doing things. And public sectors, every file has to be kept. Everything is susceptible to be, we have to be vigilant about it. But still, at this point of time, can you imagine that even the board of directors is approving proposals at mid of the night, and it's getting approved through mail. These are all things which were unthought of. So, one thing before just I close, I would like to highlight what Indian Oil has also done during this period. We had e-learning portal which we had launched 1st September last year with the name of Swadhyay, self-learning actually, Swadhyay. We have 400 odd courses offered. From 1st September up to 23rd of March, we had almost 12,000 courses which had been completed by nearly 2,000 active users. But using this opportunity with our persuasion, with people's change in attitude for learning, and in this few days from 24th March 2020 to now today's date, people have completed 2 lakh courses, and the active users have gone up to 13,000. So, that's what I keep on telling people, Still, we have 30,000 or 33,000 employees and 400 courses as of now. So we have a target of 1 crore and 32 lakhs. But this is what is happening. And people, we have refining, we have marketing, we have pipelining operations, research and development, other areas, IT, IAS, all these areas, people are doing from different courses that they're learning. And this has created an atmosphere of learning, I think, which we were visualizing that our company should be a learning organization. Probably, I mean, this challenge of COVID-19 had really helped us to convert to that. I think probably we have to really take this as some of the ways or some of the means to take the companies, take the culture forward. Off to you, Dr. Rao.
Thank you, Ranjanji. As usual, large organization, you'll bring a larger perspective. He said, let's take the challenge as an opportunity. Leverage the challenge, he says. I mean, learning is an opportunity, not a need or a compulsion. Oh, learning is an opportunity. And see the numbers, 200,000 courses in 2 weeks' time. So that's the scale they operate. That's the impact they make, not only employees, the entire nation. So that's why he started with corporate social responsibility. Public sectors, whatever they do, they keep the nation in mind. Whatever they do is an impact all over. Thank you very much. So we got the initial insights from all 4 panelists. So our participants, it's very interesting. When we started, it was 299, and I was thinking how many of them we can hold them. No, retention is also a challenge. Now it is 304. So the numbers are going up, now going up. So at this stage, I want to just know I want to see you. I don't want you to be hands-free. No, your hands should be engaged. Can we go to the reaction button and give you a reaction of a clap or a thumbs up? Yeah, let's see how many of you. Go to the reaction button on the bottom of your screen, and you can put a clap or you can put a thumbs up. Oh, wonderful. So many of you. Oh, it's I mean, बोलते हैं ना तालियों का गदगद. Wonderful. Okay. Yeah. Now again, I'll request my IT friend to mute all of them in an unfair manner. I mean, you have to be ruthless IT friend. You have to mute everybody. Okay. Oh my goodness, somebody. Mute. Yeah. IT. Help mute everybody. Even I. Muting myself. Okay, what I'll do is, now we have had 4 of them. Now, I mean, I'm getting a sense that you are all getting reconciled, or you have tasted and liked it, and you are seeing that online will be the new normal. If that be so, are we ready? Because readiness comes from infrastructure, readiness comes from processes, readiness comes from the people's mindset. You see, you want to do it, okay, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, okay. But I'm getting a sense from you that this is going to be new normal. I mean, we'll use more of online in L&D. If that be so, I would like to hear from you on the readiness. And before you start, I will request the IT use some Hitler kind of powers to mute everybody. IT? You can come back. Okay. Yes, we'll start with anybody on the readiness. Over to you, panelists. Panelists, anyone?
You know, I can go.
Yes, Raj. Yes, Raj.
You know, so one thing is about the infrastructure readiness, right? And the other one is about learner readiness. Now, interestingly, my son's school started day before yesterday. 9 o'clock, the school starts on Zoom. So he's in one room with his laptop. I'm in another room with my laptop. We are all on Zooms and all of that. So he has his class from 9 to 11. and I think his teacher has to go cook or whatever. So he gets a long break till 2 o'clock, and then 2 to 4, there's another class. So in between, we catch up. And I asked him, and this afternoon I asked him, I said, are you liking this? He says, well, I don't think I am. I said, so what are you missing? I'm missing being with my friends. I'm missing running around. I'm missing, shouting and screaming. I'm missing fighting and all of that. So I think, and personally myself, I'm doing a fellow program at the Wharton School, and a lot of my classes happen virtually. Of course, I keep going to Philadelphia every 4 months. The thing is, irrespective of whatever happens with technology, I still believe the humanness of being around, wanting to be with people will survive. Many years ago, somebody asked me, what is the qualification for a great training course? And somebody said, it's the quality of the lunch. So you're not going to get any of that on the online courses. So that's my quick response.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so
Pavitra?
well,
Yes.
yeah, well said. By the way, we've started doing potluck lunches also, because we were missing the
Okay.
lunches together. But I agree. I think, after COVID, first of all, online overall, is going to get a massive boost, right? We are seeing that in our own organization. So while readiness, I would say we've been pretty ready because, for example, all our interviews we've been doing for many years, we've been using Skype or Zoom. We hardly do in-person interviews, right? So from a readiness perspective, from an infra and our mindset in terms of really looking at online has been there. I think the challenge for us is compartmentalize and say, okay, the different cohorts, the professionals sitting in headquarter offices, mentally are ready. Of course, there is nothing to beat the human connection, right? And just meeting each other. But from an online readiness, I think this cohort has been able to do it. In fact, they come up with very innovative solutions. So for example, I didn't know within Zoom, you could actually have breakout sessions, right? So breakout chat rooms, right? So I think we're learning a lot of that, and that is something that we're going to see increasingly. Frontline, I think what has happened now is because of this entire situation, while we always had functional training programs which were online, people did not adopt this, right? And therefore the number of people who were actually logging into these e-learning courses was low. But today, I actually see that percentage go very high because people now want to do it themselves. They are looking at this opportunity to make sure that they upskill themselves. So therefore, in a nutshell, I would say that yes, readiness has been high. We've taken some time in terms of shifting that mindset, and we're seeing that shift happening in mindset.
So in fact, I like that point. No, we're pretty ready. Pretty ready.
Yeah, pretty ready.
Sunil, on the readiness. Then I go to Ranjanji. When I say readiness, I am repeating infrastructure, processes, and people.
GP, if I were to just take this, we were always, as organizations, maybe Maruti and others as well, we always had the platforms, online LMS systems, the mobile ready apps and all were always there in place, and actually happened maybe 4-5 years back when this transition gained momentum. But the thing was to have that shift in the mindset of people that this is also one of the very important channels or the platforms where you can utilize it to augment your learning and development efforts in the organization. Similarly, for the employees, it is a tool. So that acceptability came, it was different at different generational levels. When I would do my analysis, people at the younger generations who were just entering the organizations, their participation rates would be higher for such programs. But what I think this episode, I will not call that it is going to last for, it's going to be there. There's going to be a new normal, but it's not going to, mankind has pretty innovative mind, so we'll come around beating this. So it's going to bring a new level of insight for people, and people would take this as one of the very, very important platforms for the training delivery. When we go forward, there has to be a balance between physical training as well as virtual. So they are going to complement each other. I see a shift where part training happening virtually, and then you have your physical contacts kind of inbuilt into the training design itself, like it happens for certain courses which you take where you go for a couple of 15 days to an institute and rest. So that is the kind of scenario which is likely to emerge. Depending on the professions, depending on the skill sets, the percentage mix between classroom and online is going to vary. And that's the kind of shift I see happening in this space as we go
Okay.
forward.
Okay. What my pick from you is, it's a hybrid model, and then we are quite ready. Platforms are there. Ranjanji, we are talking about the readiness for go online a little more than the current levels.
Yeah. See, if I look at it very dispassionately, I see a huge difference between the IT companies or technology-based companies and manufacturing sector. I think if you talk about infrastructure, probably the manufacturing sectors or the sectors which is not purely into technology may not be that ready. But at the same time, the most important fact is the mental readiness. If the organization is nimble-footed, if the organization is ready to accept any challenges, if the organization is ready to adapt itself to the new normal, obviously they can do it faster. I think the infrastructure constraint will not be really a constraint, and that can be worked on. And also, I am also saying another thing, that this will be the time when this scenario will be also checking the character of an organization. How ready is the organization? How well prepared is the organization? That will be checked, and I'm sure. I think most of the public sectors. I mean, I can speak for. About my organization, that we have seen that we always believed on the fundamentals to be very strong, and that is going to help us. And that's what. Otherwise, how do you feel that? These all changes in the span of 15 days, we are redefining everything. We are trying to rewrite the policies. We have to have a policy because we are a public sector. So we have to have a policy. But we are reworking everything, and it is going on. And nobody nowhere from bottom to top has ever questioned, why are we going for it? Is it going to stay for so long? Why are we going for it? So that itself shows the correct. I think we are in for a scenario in which the technological preparedness will challenge the mental preparedness of the people, and at the same time, if you have the balance in both, the organization will succeed. If you don't do that, I think we'll be left behind. It is just not only limited to L&D. It is for the entire organization.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's a great answer. No, I was very happy. I started with public sector, then moved to private sector. Now you see the panelist. Only Ranjanji has got a background. You see, he has got a video background. ISTD, Golden Jubilee celebrations. So that's the readiness. No, even in a small thing, they're so ready, so ready. He has got a background to his photograph. Huh? That's good. No. Wonderful. I liked it. I liked it. No, people are watching. People are watching. No, when somebody took my photograph, I got it along with the background now. Your background. Wonderful. So my next question will be, while it's all good for large companies, you are ready, you are doing it all fine. So they want to know that, are we have to train people on some new competencies, or the earlier competencies are same, more or less same? Whether it's in functional or in behavioral, or you can say softer side, do you think some new competencies have to be focused when you do a lot of online, you do a lot of work from home? Any new competencies to focus? So anybody can say this.
I can take this first. So what I'm increasingly seeing, one of the competencies, and whether COVID or not COVID, right? One of the competencies I strongly believe is resilience, right? And resilience is about, resilience leadership is all about, facing the work after being knocked down. If you look at the workforce today, right, with the younger generations, and I see that often, everybody is in a hurry to get promoted. They want growth fast, right? This generation has not seen any shortage right? And therefore, they haven't really seen rejection. And the moment they get the first rejection, they panic, right? So the patient's ability to wait, ability to hang in there and come out of that requires that resilient leadership. So I think in my mind, that's the first competency, which is important. The second is emotional intelligence, right? That was there before COVID, continues to be there, especially in this automated world.
Great point.
And the third that I'm increasingly seeing is inclusion, and I'm seeing that as we're doing Zoom calls, right? We are doing remote working, work from home. Are we really being inclusive? And that's a challenge, right? Especially, when you're leveraging technology, you're not seeing, sometimes you don't even see the facial expressions of those people, right? Because they don't show their cameras. But inclusion, therefore, becomes very important. And I was reading a very interesting data point. Till a couple of years, when we looked at diversity, since diversity and inclusion go hand in hand, our definition of diversity used to be men and women, right? Interestingly, over the last 3 to 4 years, Tinder has about 23 classifications of diversity, right? 23 gender types. And that's amazing, and therefore just drives home the importance of inclusion even more today, right? In a workplace where you may have different types of diversity. And even in gender, we're looking at 23. So I think for me, those are the three things: resilient leadership, emotional intelligence, and inclusion.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Pavitra. IT, you don't have to do that. Spotlight is not required because you want to go fast. Raz, want to add anything? We got inclusion, we got patience, resilience. Then the starting one was
emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. Okay. तो हम तो देसी भाषा में कहते हैं tolerance to frustration. Okay.
Tolerance to frustration. Yeah.
No, Raz wants to add something to this list.
No, sure. I think very, very well said, Pavitra. From a business leadership standpoint, and I think Mohapatra ji, covered it really nicely. From a business leadership standpoint, what is required today is authentic leadership. Are you able to communicate your intent well? Are you able to tell the truth in a way that is both real as well as palatable? And are you humble to learn? And does your humility quotient, increase as much as your authenticity is? I think as an employee, for me, will I be able to understand my vulnerabilities? I should be human. I should be able to say, I don't know all the answers, but I'm happy to go figure out what the answers are, and I'll work along with my trainer or my coach or my mentor, whoever that is. I think those are the three. I would say humility, authenticity, and understanding vulnerability.
Great. Ranjan ji and Sunil, you want to add to this list? We have got emotional intelligence, resilience, inclusion, authenticity, then humility, and then that's again managing that change, managing frustration.
I would just like to add a couple. Just a couple of more competencies which I feel would be important going forward. One would be on self-management. That means how do I manage my own work, because now you're not under a spotlight, you don't have a boss breathing down your neck. Am I a person who reaches out? Those kind of personality types would, I think, we need to be seeing those kind of competencies. How do we build them would be important. That's all I would like to add.
Self-man. Ranjan ji, you want to add to this list?
Okay. No, in fact, everything has been almost listed out. I think these are the competencies of the employees which have been talked of. I think there is another part of it. Competency in terms of organizations also needs to be talked of. I think this is where, first of all, let us accept that same competency will not, what brought us here will not take us there. That would be very true right now. So competency in respect of organization is also important. How open you are, how adaptable you are, and how you were treating individual. I think from a commonality to individuality. That should be the essence these days. I think if we were creating courses. Suppose we take the case of L&D. We were creating courses for a group of people. Probably now time has come, we'll have to prepare individual courses for individuals. I think that is becoming more and more important and more and more pertinent. And that is what is, I feel very strongly, I mean, the organizational competency has to be taken.
Very good. This is a new thing. I mean, from an organization point of view, are you open? Are you adaptive? Can you do tailor-made for one person, small group of people, not for one for all? So that's an organizational preparedness. Okay, quickly we'll change the gears. The third thing we want to know is, do you think L&D methods will change? Mode of doing L&D, will that change now? Will that change, or the way we are doing all this?
Yeah, I can start.
Yeah, please.
So I take the advantage of speaking first. Yes, it has to change.
Yes.
It has to change. I think the way we had been doing, having classroom trainings, creating infrastructure for classrooms, creating one-on-one, right? I think he was very candid, Raghavan was very candid when he told that authorities also did not provide us that opportunity or that chance that it can be done also remotely. I mean, everybody thought that it has to be, I mean, one-to-one experiences, one-to-one training. They have to learn from the experiences. They have to start and here we are and everything. The technology is now changing everything. I can visualize everything even through VR. I think virtual reality is almost taking me. We have developed a course on our refining operations in VR. Absolutely, you can see everything in a refinery through VR. So people can learn better and they can really venture better.
Okay.
So I think things will definitely go for a change.
Wonderful. Anyone wants to add to this? Otherwise, we'll shift gears.
Very quickly, GP Garu. I would think it's not a new method, but we will all learn to do more with less.
Okay, more with less. Wonderful. More with less. That's the learning now. 2 lakh people, 2 lakh programs in 15 days. That's what IOC did. Okay. So what we'll do is, with your permission, we are now at 6 o'clock. So can we take some questions from the audience? There are a lot of questions are on the chat box. I have requested some of our volunteers to screen those and put up those questions. So we'll take those questions. Yeah. Mr. Kaushal and Naveen, would you like to share any question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will go ahead and share the first question. Mr. Gupta has asked, NK Gupta, that how do we engage, encourage and empower specially abled people, and particularly in the light of what Pavitra has talked about, inclusiveness.
Okay. Specially abled people, how will you engage in an online format?
Shall I share more? Or?
Yeah, no, it's fine, Pavitra.
Yeah, so no, I think, the first part of it is infrastructure, right? In terms of, have we enabled that infrastructure? And I can tell you an example a couple of years ago where we did, try to experiment with this, and then we failed because we realized that, look, the first part, which is infrastructure, we were not ready with the infrastructure, right? And then the second is mindset, right? Making sure. So I think the first is to make sure that we have the right infrastructure so that we're able to include them. Okay, I can talk about my organization. Currently, we are not ready with this.
Okay, but it takes time.
It takes time. We're not ready.
Okay, next question, please. Next question. Sir, you have to be fast. Next question.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Gopal Agarwal has made a point, and he is asking, how would this would be that learning from each other, which is an important part of training programs, that participants learn from each other. This can be handled, or this will be missing in this post-COVID era, and particularly the online or virtual environment.
Okay. Yeah. Will we miss learning from each other, learning from one another?
I think camaraderie will miss.
Otherwise,
being in a classroom, there's a camaraderie that you will miss. But I think learning from each other, you will not miss. Because, all these virtual technologies help you learn from each other. And there are virtual groups that work together. In fact, my own Wharton class has WhatsApp group that buzzes all the time. And then you're calling people, one another. each. I mean, I don't think
I
that's
think
going to miss.
learning is not
You'll just miss being together and
okay.
you know,
Camaraderie.
shaking hands, you know, shaking hands and hugging. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful.
I'll just add to that.
Yes,
that
Ranjanji.
aspect.
Yes.
In fact, that will be the challenge which will be thrown to the technology companies. They have to provide all these platforms in a way that learning camaraderie is also there. Who knew that we'll be talking like this and interacting with each other? It has to go one step further. This is the challenge which is thrown now to the technological companies to provide this as well.
Sir, I will not take it as a challenge. I will tell them that Ranjanji has given you an opportunity. They will create and they will, and you will pay. You will pay. Okay, sir. I will request the volunteers to be fast and give the question straight away. Name of the person, ask the question, come to the question.
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
that's it.
T.
Okay,
Raman
Naveen
has asked.
Okay. That's all. Naveen Kumar, any question?
The other part. Okay.
Naveen Kumar, do you have any question?
Yeah. Kaushal here, can I?
Yes, sir. Please ask your third question.
Yeah. See, T. Raman has written is going to be permanent in higher education. So another query which was saying that online, certification would really be taken as something good by the organization, or it will be taken as a second class sort of, certificates.
It's a very long question, but if you have understood, please answer.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you want to do with the certification. If you're going to expect somebody to give you a job just based on an online certification, you're going to be very disappointed. That is true even with a certificate from a regular institution. You know, you'll still be interviewed and all of that. But if you're looking at learning and if you're looking at expanding your knowledge, and then there is, I mean, no learning is bad. I mean, there is no return on investment that you can do with this on an immediate basis, but over time it will help.
Okay, can we take the next question?
Yeah,
Mr.
Anu asked that how can people protect their
what?
Post-COVID or COVID?
Protecting jobs? Are you talking about protecting jobs?
Yeah, protecting jobs and protecting income flow.
I think that's not the purview of this topic. We are talking about L&D. L&D is not going to protect. That's a different domain. Next question, either from Naveen Kumar or Mr. Kaushal. We didn't have any question from Naveen Kumar group.
Yeah.
Is he there or not there?
Let him.
No, he's not there. You can go ahead. He's not there. IT locate Mr. Naveen Kumar.
So Mr. Naveen is there.
But then he's not asking any question.
Let me just get off now.
Okay, I'll
GP.
About
yes. Somebody
GP.
said GP. Somebody said GP.
Yeah. This is Naveen. I was actually muted. I was muted, so I was not able to get through.
Okay.
So I have two quick short questions here.
Who has asked?
One is from Dr. Vijay Fateh. He says, where will be training ranked in terms of priorities of HR and top management?
Okay. Okay.
The other is from Captain Naresh
No.
Kakkar.
Take first question. Where do you rank training as a priority? Okay. 4 of you. You will take it on a scale of 1 to 10. You will put it at 10 or 8, 9, where? Pavitra. Priority for training.
See, look, training is going to be will continue to be important, right? I think it's about how you impart that training, right? Because training is long term. I mean, we shouldn't look at it as a short term perspective that, okay, now that we've had this issue and we're going to cut, but how we do it is going to be important.
Okay.
Yeah, according to me, training is going to have the same importance what you gave in your organizations till now.
Okay.
The only thing which will change will be the delivery methodology and probably the skills that we train for.
Okay. So the priority will remain. Will it improve, Mr. Raz, the priority?
No, it will. For me, in my training, in my iFly Training Academy, 80% of my classes are regulatory classes. Okay. Those need to continue. You know, we need to keep the planes safe, passengers safe. So it will not go away in my mind.
Okay. Next question from Naveen.
GP Manu asks, what initiative can be taken to provide training to contractual employees?
Ranjanji. then I'll come to Sunil. Then
No. See, this is what is also important. They are as integral part as anybody else in our entire scheme of things. I mean, unless they are also equally imparted the knowledge, imparted the methodology. Yes. Whether this current way of doing L&D, let's say through technology and all, whether it will be possible for our contractual employees, I'm not very sure right now. We will have to see further.
Okay.
But everybody has a smartphone these days.
Okay.
Today, to my contractual employees, I'm sending information, I'm sending them advisories through their smartphones. I'm keeping them engaged. Today, this app, which has been already, I'm just forgetting the name of our app for the Arogya Setu, which has already been launched. Every contract laborers of us have already adopted that, and they have implemented it. So things definitely.
So you'll include them. So you'll include them. Sunil?
Yeah,
Sunil?
see, I can just give you an example. We have a large contractual and what we call as the factory workmen. We have, before this also, we were using virtual reality for say training our service technicians. How do you open an engine? Actually, we would have 5,000 workshops all over India. So how do we train them? So we have a very evolved system where technologies are there. Virtual reality will come to our rescue. You have today simulated learning. So I don't see, the only thing may happen, the course contents would have to be made more inclusive where people can be made mobile ready for them. But it's just the content remains. It's only the methodology which changes.
Okay. Next question, either from Mr. Kaushal or Naveen.
Yeah, see, Mr. Maheshwar has asked, what is the one major paradigm shift in the post-COVID era?
Oh, paradigm shift. Anybody?
Yeah, paradigm shift.
What is the paradigm shift? In we'll say L&D, no? Perhaps
L&D.
L&D. What is the paradigm shift?
Well, the biggest one for me is, you can actually learn online and virtually.
So virtual learning. More of virtual learning. That's the paradigm shift. Okay. Anyone else wants to add? Okay. Next question, please. Naveen, do you have any questions with you?
Yeah.
But on the screen, I see some 20 questions on the chat.
But now some hands are raised. So
No. I have got on the chat box many questions. Can we read those?
Yeah, Mr. Varshne has asked, L&D in the doing is believing. How do you say that virtual learning can really handle? Somewhere it may be possible, some other places, sort of, comments and sharing of experience from our panelist.
As I had said in my earlier comment, you cannot have 100% the conventional way or the 100% going online and having the LMS systems. We are going to evolve at different levels of hybrid models, depending on the kind of delivery and the kind of skill that we are wanting to impart.
Okay. Any more questions, please?
Yeah, one more question is, name is not clear.
No problem. Ask the question.
It is about experiential learning. So what happens and how do we handle experiential learning, or is it possible, or it is going to be less, or whatever it is, comments. Yeah.
If you have to learn swimming, you need to go into the water. Not everything is going to be online.
That's right.
So if I have to open my aircraft engine and put it back onto the plane, I better go touch it. So it's not as though everything is going to be online.
Okay.
And experiential is going to be extremely important, a very important element of learning.
Okay. There is a mischievous question. Which organizations will increase the L&D budget and which organizations will reduce the budget? It's a mischievous question. Would you like to answer that?
From you, is it? GP,
No, somebody. Looks like no. I'm reading from the chat box.
I tell you what, not just L&D. Let's not get too hyped about L&D. Everywhere there's going to be less. And you're going to be expected to do more with it. No one's going to throw money at you and say, okay, well, everything else is going down the tube, but L&D, you're my favorite child, go get the money. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And I agree. And I think this is a time when you have to look out for creative solutions, right? So how do you make sure that you give the same experience without the X amount of budget that you have? So creative solutions are different ways of unlocking, but giving the same experience in a different way.
Naveen and Kaushalji, do you have any more questions with you?
There are. Well, let me see.
Otherwise, I will.
Yeah. There are questions, I don't know how to put it. How can we ensure, Maimo Mathur is asking, how can we ensure dedication, you know? So,
No, it's all right. No, don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad. Panelists, they want to see dedication as a competence.
Okay.
Dedication and competence. So like commitment, accountability, that's it. So will that be a part of L&D? Improving commitment, accountability, dedication, responsibility, mindfulness. Will that be a part of your training programs?
Was it not a part of L&D? I mean, my question is the reverse. Was it not a part of L&D? I mean, that's what it is.
It was always there. It was always there.
Yeah, it was always.
Always there. Always there.
If you want to build a character in your organization, if you want to build a culture in your organization, if you want to build your people to meet the requirements, which is the changing scenarios, obviously you prepare your people for that. And L&D plays a big role.
Well said.
Okay, well said, sir. Well said. Okay, so what is your next thing? Don't worry, Mr. Kaushal. You don't feel bad about the type of questions. Ask the question.
Yeah. Yashwant Chauhan has asked, my question to the panel is, how do we ensure effective learning in the Corona times and also keep people connected? Yeah,
I think they all shared.
Is it a repetition? Yeah,
yeah, it's a repetition. They have run 200,000 programs, IOC.
Yeah.
By going online, that's it.
Yeah,
Going for online programs. Okay, Naveen, do you have anything in your stock? Otherwise, I'll go to open questions. Naveen, do you have anything in your stock? Naveen Kumar. Please unmute himself, IT. Naveen was muted. Okay. What will...
Unmuted, sir.
But then he's not answering. Okay. What we'll do is, IT, please help us. It's very difficult, but we'll do it. Somebody will say, I have got a question, and we will go to him. Okay. Let's let some. But then how do you do that? It's very difficult. You can't unmute all.
Two people have raised hands.
So can we know what is his name?
One is Mr. Tyagraj and another one is Mr. Akhil Basrai.
So Akhil Basrai, can we unmute him?
Yeah.
Sure. AQEIL. Akhil. AQUIL.
Yeah, Mr. Akhil, please go ahead.
Akhil bhai.
Yeah, thank you, GP Garu and Raj, Sunil, and all panel members. My question is that, while everybody knows the paradigm shift of the way we learn, how do we measure the effectiveness that this is really working in real life?
Oh.
Any tips from you people that is this a one-way giving away inside some black hole? But is there any innovative idea how to measure this?
Oh,
when we have a question, GP Garu, Akhil.
I know. So
like
natural.
God has a question, and human beings have to answer.
No, it's a very good question.
No, it's a great question. I think it's the same way. I think effectiveness is, this is like, how do you do it? Learn, do, repeat, learn, do, repeat. How do you repeat after you learn? And I think it will be different for just skills versus knowledge. If it is going to be learning a MS Excel, it is easy to go get the learning verified as much as it is not going to be easy if I can teach how to learn vulnerability. So I think it's like that, but I don't think it's very different from face-to-face learning.
Okay. Okay. IT, there was one more hand raised. Kaushalji, could you spot that person?
I couldn't. This is actually a senior VP, from the southern region.
But don't know the name.
But his name is not coming here.
Okay. Any other person who raised a hand?
Mr. Tyagraj.
Tyagraj. THYA. Tyagraj. In there a surname or? name will start with Tyagras. Dekho, IT. Can you unmute him? Tyagras. T में देखो, T में. T for Tamil Nadu.
Telangana.
Telangana.
I guess he is left, sir.
Oh, he left. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So sorry, Chairman, we can't ask this question. So anyone else who has raised a hand? Okay. Can we see quickly, dear audience? Has anybody got a question to ask? We want to be very fair to you.
Gupta.
Yeah, who is that?
Mr. Rajiv Gupta.
Rajiv Gupta.
Dr.
Rajiv
Rao, I
Gupta.
wanted to make a remark.
Sir.
I think a lot of valuable points have been made, but the emphasis has to be the change in the perspective and to realize that the boundaries of both authority and family structures are going to change. So whereas you were right in saying COVID is not going to change the world in any fundamental sense, people will be stillborn, they will grow up, they will die, they will love and hate each other, there will be organizations, but the inter se emphasis will change. And I think this is a great opportunity for learning and development experts to set the pace.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. We will take the last question from the gentleman who said somebody raised his hand.
Mr. Rajiv Gupta.
Rajiv Gupta. Yes, Rajiv Gupta. Yes. Rajiv Gupta, are you unmuted?
Unmuted.
I think so.
Yes, please.
Am I
go.
unmuted now?
Yes, Rajiv. Yes, Rajiv, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, GP Rao, how are you?
Sir, your question only. Now I cannot give answer.
So the question basically is that there are new competencies that were listed out. Do you think there will be a huge amount of behavioral shift that will need to be brought about? That's one, which means a lot of training for doing that. And number two, do you think there will be a lot of stuff needed to be done in terms of managing stress in these turbulent times?
Wonderful. Okay, the first point they've already answered. They have given a list of behavioral points, they said, that's it. But on the stress, do you think it will be an important thing, panelists? Stress
I think HR has a huge responsibility, GP Garu, along with L&D, and I'm using HR generically.
Okay.
I think it will be our duty to help workforce deal with uncertainties, deal with stress, deal with vulnerabilities. And like Pavitra said, deal with job losses. I think time will tell how ready we are, because some of us ourselves will lose our jobs. That's going to be a huge responsibility, and I think it's a great question.
Okay, thank you. So we will have to stop here. Further questions, we will copy the entire chat box. Whatever questions you put in the chat, we are capturing those, and we will request we'll go to the panelists and try to get you the answers. So before I go to the vice chairman of the chapter, quickly I'll just tell you, during the initial sharing, we got something around insightfulness. The second was move from linear to non-linear, driving culture. I know somebody wants to take a phone call. What do I do? Very bad. Now, third is driving the culture. Fourth is leveraging take this challenge as an opportunity. Then when we came to the competencies, they talked about EI, resilience, inclusion, authenticity, humility, self-management, organizational competence, openness, adaptability, and they've also brought in this organizational perspective, that open, how adaptive, can we do shift from individual focus, from this common focus. Then when we talked the modes, they talked about the modes of training, L&D, and Dr. Vinayshil Gautam gave a fresh perspective. Then we had a number of questions. For each of the questions was answered. So thank you very much, panel. Thank you very much, audience. Thank you very much, everybody who has added insight. Thank you very much, the volunteers. Now there will be a proper formal vote of thanks from the ISTD. I would request Mr. S.K. Bose, Executive Director, HR, Indian Oil, and the Vice Chairman of ISTD to please come. Mr. S.K. Bose.
Good evening. Am I audible?
We'll put you up. No, you come at the center, focus your camera. We want to see your photo. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Good evening to all of you. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks. Thanks for the excellent panel discussion on future of L&D. Today we are experiencing how L&D is transforming all of us and the culture of learning. Both instructors and learners, they are changing the platform and they are moving to the virtual platform. And L&D has really gone virtual as well as viral. Our director HR has already, Mr. Mahapatra, told how in the last 15 days, 2 lakhs courses could be completed by the employees. I was trying to rope in Harvard Business School for conducting a program for us that constitutes classroom, virtual, and action learning project, all 3 components. For last 1 year, I was struggling. But today, it is so happened that the Harvard Business School is coming to our study room or drawing room through the virtual platform, that is through webinars. Let me tell you, in this complex and ever-changing world, I hope that the new leadership will be developed and evolved. And we have discussed about a few competency. Let me summarize. They are talking about, ma'am talked about the resilience. I think Raghavanji told about the authentic leadership. And we also talked about EQ, CQ, I mean emotional quotient, cultural quotient, spiritual quotient. I will add one competency, that is health quotient. Because all our leaders are boxed up. They need to focus on health also. Friends, this new leadership needs connectivity, connecting with the people and engaging people. That is going to be the hallmark of the future.
Thank you. Thank you.
And new leadership will develop a new brand of, foot soldiers who will be caring and elevate education, compassionate and collaborative. Let me, one question comes to my mind. When you talk about ISTD, it has got a society in it. So when we talk about school children, now majority of the school children are doing the classrooms through the laptop. But what about the 60 or 70% of the students in the villages? They don't have seen the laptop also. So India lives in villages. What we are doing for that? That is the question.
Sir, you have to close 6:30, the closing time.
I propose a real vote of thanks. Let me, first of all, sincere thanks to Dr. Vinayasil Gautam, the past president. You can have a clap for him. Mr. Ranjan Kumar Mahapatra, the president IFTIDO. Mr. Raj Raghavan, CHRO Indigo. Ms. Pavitra Singh, CHRO PepsiCo India. Mr. Sunil Ranjan, VP, Maruti Udyog, Senior VP, Maruti Suzuki India. Dr. GP Rao, founder, Good People Relations. Excellent, sir. Thank you for your coordination. Dr. Natraj Roy, National President, ISTD. Mr. Mukesh Jain, Chairman, ISTD. Mr. Kosal, and all the past presidents, Professor Benuet, Dr. YK Upadhyay, the past president, Mr. Alok Agarwal, who is the technical, doing all the technical support for this event, Mr. AC Joshi, Director, ISTD, all the senior members of NHRD, IAPM, then IMA, ISTD, all the past participants, and Indian Oil participants and GAIL participants and participants from the ONGC and all the public sector. And finally, I thank you, Ms. Pratima Kosal, for steering this also, and Mr. GP Rao. All the best, and this is the best initiative so far taken by ISTD. My congratulations and compliment to all of you. Thank you, panelists again.
Thank you. IT, can you get me back?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, friends, we are calling it a day. Thank you very much. Have a nice time. Be safe, play safe. This will be over. Everybody, our panelists have told us, our seniors have told us, this is an opportunity for us. We'll do. Now, while leaving, you can give your parting comments, feedback, kickbacks, or whatever you want to, not kickback, sorry. It's only feedback. So you can bouquets or brickbats or any comments, any suggestions, please use the chat box. We will promise you all your questions will be answered. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Everybody.
you, sirs. Thank
We'll
you all.
We'll keep the chat box on for 2 minutes. Chat box will be on for 2 minutes. Chat box will be on for 2 minutes.
It was a wonderful evening with all of you. Thank you so much from the chairman side.
Chat box will be on. Okay, people can write. We'll keep it for another 30 seconds. Please give your feedback, any suggestions, what you liked, what you didn't like. Okay, and the 10 seconds. 10 seconds. 10. Yeah, people are writing. Okay, let's me give some more time. They're writing, typing. IT, please extend by another 30 seconds. We are at 6:30. We wanted to close at 6:30. 30 seconds. Okay. Okay. Fine. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All the best. Have a great time and be safe.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We can leave the meeting. IT, we can close it.
Acknowledge, sir.
Yeah. So are the people still writing?
Yes, 2 or 3 are still.
Okay. If there's anybody writing, just wait for 5 seconds, then you can close.
Sure, sir.
Thank you, Alok, for wonderful support. Wonderful.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure.
I think there was some problem with Naveen. He was muted. He could not unmute himself. Okay, Mukeshji, thank you so much.
Bye, Dr. Rao.
Sir.
Rao Garu.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good initiative.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
കേരളത്തിലെ ബർത്ത്ഡേ സെലിബ്രേഷൻ
Alok, can we close it? Alok.